Larry Ryan here with a video review from your recent golf lesson. On the left is a before swing. This was actually filmed 2 lessons ago, so not the most recent lesson, the lesson prior to that. And the video on the right was filmed during your recent golf lesson. So I'm just going to use this to kind of show your progress you're making between the 2 sessions. Now, as we swing back here on the left, what we identified was that the hands were working away from the body, and that was getting the club outside the swing plane. So if we look at where your waistline is and your hands, you can see that red line has a pretty big gap between the body and the club. So that's too far apart. We want to try to get that red line to be smaller in the backswing, and the way you're going to do that is by focusing on rotating your hips and your right side of your body at the start of the backswing. Okay, now as we continue to take a look at this, I'm actually going to compare the swing on the right now. So we're going to take you to the exact same point in time. So as you swing back, now when we get you to about hip high, you can see that this looks much different. So the hands are more on the swing plane, the club's maybe slightly inside the hands. That is going to promote typically a little bit more of a draw bias, that relationship there. But in general, I definitely like the look of that. As far as getting the hands closer to the body, you can see that looks much better. Let's continue going up to the top. So here we are at the top of the swing, and here we are at the top of the swing. So it looks like you're getting a lot more of a deeper turn with your shoulders, especially getting the left arm more kind of across the chest. So that looks really good. The only thing that I'm a little cognizant of, or wanting to make sure that we keep an eye on, is that the club now is starting to point a little bit more across the line. So ideally, instead of that arrow pointing to the right, we want that pointing a little bit more straighter. So that's something that we'll work on as we continue to do some future lessons together. Just know that that's something I'll probably be talking with you about. On the left, as we start the downswing, the hands were coming down very steeply. And then from there, you basically had to just like kind of hang back on your right side, because if you were to just rotate from there, the ball's going to go hard left, right? You just end up coming over the top and hit everything into the left trees. If we watch you over here, now you're coming down much more inside the yellow line, so more on plane, and basically just hitting this little push draw. So that's a much better ball flight, a lot more consistent, and a lot easier on the body to repeat it. So this next clip here is a little practice swing that you did, just kind of a rehearsal of what we were trying to feel. So I'm going to just draw a line kind of right by your hands, and then watch what ends up happening. So as you swing back, your hands are going to work inside of that line. See how much closer your hands are moving towards your belt buckle or your pelvis. That's really good. And then we just basically rotate up to the top, and that's literally the end of the golf swing. Like, that's as far as you really need to go. So that's a really good visual for you as to like, what are we trying to do in the takeaway. This is something to mentally take a picture of. It's really good. So this final clip here, this is a comparison that I did of yourself versus a gentleman named Mac O'Grady. So Mac O'Grady, if you haven't heard of him, he's kind of like this basically a guru of the golf swing. He was a bit eccentric, but he's known as being one of like the best ball strikers ever. So let's just take a look at your golf swing. So here we are on the left as we swing back. You do a decent job of keeping your head close to the line at the initial takeaway, and then it's going to start to move off of that, and you end up basically kind of hanging back, and then you're on your right side, so your right foot's still kind of flat. You get a little bit flippy. You can see where your head's at, still kind of hanging behind that line, and then you get kind of up against it at the end. But definitely would like to see more lateral motion beyond that yellow line as you come through. So let's watch Mac here as he hits one. So he swings back, keeps his head kind of close to that line. Now he starts to actually move through it. So you can see this like lateral push, right? It's like a sit into his left leg. And then he just basically rotates everything through, and he's going to end up beyond that yellow line as he comes through. So it's a nice visual for you as to like, what are you actually trying to do? A lot of times people like think they need to keep their head still in the golf swing. I'm not saying it needs to be moving all over the place, but the way in which it's moving needs to feel a bit more that way to you, where you're actually getting yourself more almost in front of the golf ball and then rotating through. So in conclusion, Larry, I hope you found this video helpful. I know you texted me saying that you've been struggling a little bit in the last couple of days with your golf swing, feel like you kind of lost it. So hopefully this kind of identifies what things you really need to be prioritizing in your practice. Continue to stay positive, stick with it, and put the work in. And until next time, happy golfing.